I come from a community where a large employer is a tank plant, a General Dynamics tank plant. So I feel this dilemma when I'm reading the Circle of Protection, and this plant is also on the list for closures if military spending cuts are to take place. So I'm in this dilemma where there's these great working class people who have played by the rules to get ahead, and then if these cuts are to come into place, they'll see that food stamps and these other programs for lower class are still in place and being protected, which really sets up, I think, a sort of, I guess, like class warfare in between a middle class and a lower class families. And I was just wondering what you would say to a worker in that situation and how you would explain the Circle of Protections like idea and just kind of counsel them through that situation.
Sure. Tough question. One of the things I would say is the programs that are in the Circle are touching families, like in that community. One of our colleagues is Drew Gensler. He's a Lutheran pastor. He's also a military chaplain. The use of food stamps in military commissaries is just going through the roof because the people we look to defend our country are not being paid enough to feed their families. In my tradition, we're for legitimate defense, but we don't need tanks that we don't need, and tanks are not a job program. On the other hand, when people make those kind of decisions, they have to take into account the human consequences of that, and we ought to be able to make something besides tanks on those lines, whether it's I'm not one of those who believes everybody's going to make wind turbines, you know, in the kingdom of God. But there ought to be a way to figure out how we can use skills that people have to make something useful. We sent people into Iraq without decent armor on those cars. So as long as we're going to be fighting these wars, we're going to need some armored cars and tanks to work. So I don't know the specific dynamics. I'm a member of the board of Bread for the World. I always say our goal is not to make sure everybody's on food stamps. Our goal is to make sure everybody can have a job so they can feed their own kids. And so we want those workers to be able to contribute to the common good and the life of that community by using the talents they have. And that requires us, frankly, to think and act differently. And frankly, a lot of the energy that goes into saving a tank plant we don't need could probably go into what else could we make at the tank plant that we do need.